Welcome back to So I Have Tea, where we talk and spill the tea on some of the juiciest stories on Reddit. If you're new here, grab a cup of tea, cozy up, and tag along. So, today we're going to talk about, I think, either they're the joy of your life or the curse of your life. It could go either way. But we're going to talk about kids. And to talk about kids with me, I have somebody who is so unqualified because, actually, you know what? He's qualified because he's a kid too. Welcome back, Shehan. Good to have you back.
Yeah, technically you are unqualified too. It's not like either of us are not qualified to be talking about this.
True, but you know what? It's so weird. The moment a Sri Lankan girl gets married,
Everyone starts asking, "Where's your kid? Where's your kid?"
Where are you
How
having
many
kids?
people have asked you that?
Dude, I swear to you, I literally, so a few
Every
of
family function.
okay, family functions, it's gotten a little bit better because I've told them to back off. But in the beginning, for sure. And you know how when I go to see my aunts and all during New Year's and I'll go worship them, and the literal first thing is, hope to see you 2 as 3
Bro,
people next year.
Sri Lankan relatives are so blunt, ne? Like
Sri
I
Lankan relatives?
I went for a party recent. About 6 of my relatives. You've gotten so fat. I'm like,
Or you've
"Come
gotten
on."
dark.
Yeah.
When are you getting married? When are your exam results coming out? How much are you earning now? Are you getting paid well?
One guy literally said, "Dasamahayodek kage vela." Like, come on.
Well,
I mean, it might be true, but like, still, you don't.
honestly, like, nobody humbles you like your
Like
relative.
your relatives. That is
So-
true. Okay, we got a bit sidetracked, but, yeah,
no,
coming
it's
back to
completely fine. Actually, one of my friends got married. Like, one of my closest friends got married recently, and I ran into all my aunties, as in my friends' parents who I grew up with. And immediately, one of the first few questions were, "දැන් ඉතින් බබෙක් හැදුවා නම් හරිනේ."
No, I have a lot of experience with kids because I teach kids.
Of course. See, when you have a kid, you're responsible for them financially, emotionally, mentally, everything. And I feel like our generation is genuinely taking these into consideration, taking our mental health, our financial stability also into consideration before they go on ahead, before they have kids. Right? And I think it's really important.
Well, parents nowadays are terrible, because we deal with a lot of parents.
Well,
Because like again, like I teach kids,
Yeah.
right? So we deal with their parents.
yeah.
You see where the kids get their entitlement and attitude and all that from. It starts right from the parents. The parents, I honestly give a lot of props to like our generation of not our generation,
Yeah,
but
but
our parents'
this
generation. You know, bringing up good kids, but our generation has gone and mucked that up by bringing up terrible kids now.
Listen, okay. So right now we're gonna dive into some entitled kids, some checked out parents, and a family that's been split over accountability. It's
damn.
about to get a little heavy,
Yeah.
but I think we should dive right in. So this is again, like I said, a little heavy. Am I the asshole for wanting to divorce my wife for enabling my son to harass one of his classmates? I, 38-year-old male, my wife, 38-year-old female, have been together for a long time. My wife has always been this sweet woman with a very strong sense of justice. She always expressed her disdain towards people who treated others like dirt. We raised our son, 16, to treat people with respect and align with our morals, and he has always been such a sweet kid. Well, that was until we found out he was downright tormenting this kid in his class for months. My son and a group of his friends were bullying this boy for coming from a low income background and not having real parents. He was raised by his grandmother. They took any of the very little money he had or was given, as well as any treasured items of his, regardless of the expense. They physically harmed him when he didn't want to give them money or had no money to give. We found this out by getting a call from our son's school one day, and they called us in. They informed us of everything. I didn't want to believe it. My son, who I knew, would have never done this. Nevertheless, when I asked my son, he confessed to everything. He looked guilty. But he looked as guilty as you would be for accidentally stepping on someone else's shoe. My wife also looked upset at him, but once again like it was something small. When we saw the boy who my son was hurting, he was covered in cuts and bruises, and I couldn't believe my son had done this to another boy. His grandmother also looked like she had been crying for hours. I felt horrible. My son got suspended for 3 weeks and charges will most likely be pressed. I genuinely don't know how to process this or fathom that what I've done to raise such a cruel child. I immediately grounded him from everything, including devices, going outside without supervision, and did so many other things, but I feel like it wasn't enough punishment. I am nauseated by the thought of everything he's done, and I feel like he deserves more ramifications. My wife, however, seemed to immediately get over it. In fact, she told me I was too harsh. She just gave him a slap on the wrist and downplayed it like they were 5-year-olds at a playground who called each other stupid names but would easily get over it. This young boy, my son and his friends tortured, will probably have to deal with trauma for years or even for life. And you're treating it like a silly altercation. She also told me something along the lines of boys will be boys, you should know this. Boys roughhouse and get into conundrums playfully. Boys do not abuse other boys for their background or simply just for fun. I snapped and yelled at her, saying treating the situation lightly was horrible and she needs to learn basic empathy. The poor boy had to endure pain and couldn't get attention for his wounds, while our son was getting affirmation for inflicting the pain on him. My wife snapped back and said I was overreacting. I told her she wouldn't be acting like this if our son was in the opposite situation. She just responded by calling me a list of derogatory names that I don't want to repeat. I feel like she's not the same person. Neither my son nor my wife will talk to me unless I apologize to them, which is what my wife said. I don't know what I could possibly apologize for. I don't know why she's making me apologize to them when she's made no effort to have our son apologize to the boy that he's been hurting for months. My wife has also been very passive aggressive, and yesterday she left to stay at a friend's house with our son. My son has also just not been talking to me at all, convinced he was in the right. I want to divorce her. I'm disgusted by her actions of allowing this indirectly, and I'm even more repulsed at my son for doing this to another human being. Maybe I'm overreacting or being an irrational asshole. Maybe a divorce is too harsh, but I will never be able to see her as the same person again. I don't want to be with someone who treats abuse like it's a small shenanigan, especially when she's been so adamant on having people like my son get a punishment twice as painful as the victim endured. I don't know what to do with my son. I don't know what to do with myself. Am I the asshole? Is it possible I can talk this through with them and get over it? Or am I just being irrational for wanting divorce? Wow, that was heavy. That was heavy.
He should probably go for a divorce.
Yeah, because I agree, because this is not just like schoolyard like teasing. That was abuse. They were physically assaulting that child, and if your wife just dismisses it, how is your son like going to
And
learn?
no, what he said is correct. If it happened, if his son was in the opposite end of it,
Yeah.
the punishment would have been a lot more great, or the punishment they would have wanted the other kid to get would have been a lot more.
Exactly. And like how I didn't see that plot twist coming, like the mom being okay with it. And according to what he says, she's like a social justice warrior. And for her to all of a sudden turn around and be okay because her child is the one who's causing the chaos is absurd.
That
And
is true.
like,
Yeah, it's always slight until it happens to you, isn't it? That's the
exactly.
case.
And I mean, you went to a boys' school. There's a difference between boys being rowdy versus boys being cruel.
Exactly. I mean, making fun of someone's financial background and so on, that's not the kind of thing that's done. We roughhouse for sure.
Yeah,
We play around, we get into fights and so
and
on.
I think that's also part of growing up. You need
For
to
sure,
you
for
like.
sure.
I mean,
But
I
you don't have
used
to be cruel.
That's
There's
the
a
biggest
difference.
difference. That's
There's
the
a-
biggest difference. And so I have two younger brothers. So I used to like push them around, slap them around, and stuff like that.
That's
Scrape
until
them
they grew big.
off. Listen, now for sure I know if I not that they would ever raise
Yeah,
their
yeah.
hands against me, but it's a part of growing up. And as parents, they are also supposed to take responsibility when your child
I mean,
causes
I know
harm.
if I did that to someone
Yeah.
and my parents found
Oh, I
out,
would have gotten smacked. I would have gotten
beat up so bad.
smacked. And I don't think either one of them would have minimized
No
the
way.
situation.
No way.
Because, I mean,
They would have gone to town.
and like at this day and age, we teach our children to be kind, to be empathetic, to with everything that's going on in the world. I would assume that at least now we have reached a point in society where the excuse boys will be boys is not an excuse. You can't, it's not an excusable behavior. It just enables extremely toxic like traits. I can't. If my parents ever got a complaint like this, I would have been like, there's the
That's
door, you
so
leave, you're no
beta.
child of ours.
This type of thing again, like I've heard about this type of stories
Yeah.
even in like our
Yeah,
schools
yeah,
and so on, but it's very rare.
yeah.
Like and especially the perpetrators get punished by
But
school
school,
itself,
yeah,
unless they are, again, like we talked about in the previous episode, if they are like influenced and connected. Now
yeah,
that's
yeah,
different.
yeah.
And I think those parents enable that sort of behavior
100%.
also. I mean, if you look at our
100%.
politicians' children,
Yeah,
they've had that entire life of bullying all the people around them
yeah,
with zero repercussions.
exactly.
That's why they carry on
Carry
to
on
be
to
idiots
in
even
your
once
adult
they.
life. And like,
Yeah.
I don't understand, especially like being an adult, I would think we deal with adults that are not the most pleasant to deal with. When you actually think back at it, it's because they were not taught any better by their parents when they were younger. So it's definitely like, if you have a kid, it's your social responsibility to ensure that they grow up to be good adults too.
Absolutely. Yeah, when I deal with, I mean, when I teach and all,
Yeah.
I I get along well with kids because, like you said, I'm also very kiddish.
Very good. Yeah.
So kids tend to get
Yeah.
along well with
Yeah.
me. It's very rare that I find someone that's cruel.
Yeah.
Even the boys, like now I do theater, obviously.
Yeah.
So you don't get the
The
man-based
macho.
men, right? So again, they're very soft, they're very kind,
Yeah.
so on and so on. But when I was in school, we used to have students who used to bully, who used to pick
Yeah.
on everyone. But again, it was not cruel. It was
Yeah.
not done because, hey, you're poor, so I'm going to pick on you.
Yeah. I
It
think,
was more of, hey, you're just weak and unable to do anything about it, so I'm
well,
going to pick
listen, first of all, bullying is, I do not condone bullying. I don't. Let me just make that very
It was
clear.
just survival of the fittest.
That's not, definitely not how I see it.
Not in a bad way.
No, but like, honestly, it's really volatile for the child, because his child is 16 and they're very capable of making their own decisions. And the two parents can't agree on how to parent the child. It
Yeah, I mean,
definitely
the father
confuses.
should have taken the control here and just smacked the child and put the child in their place.
Yeah, and the mother, what, smack the wrist? What is that going to do?
If my father was slapped my wrist and let me get off with things,
No, like,
I would have done
in
so much
situation,
more worse.
in situations like this, like, I know a lot of people don't agree in like hitting their kids and things like that
If
now.
you're a boy, you have to get. See, in this situation, if you don't get beat up, you're never going to learn.
Yeah.
What? He grounded him and
Taking away your devices, and like, kids are so smart
when I was
nowadays.
going to school, I was doing my A levels. My parents thought they took away my devices, but they didn't know about the devices that I had. That's not going to do
but
anything.
it's true. It's true. Do you think that divorce is extreme? I mean, is it valid?
Bro, in this, how do you live with that woman after that?
I agree. You know that your values don't align anymore.
Exactly.
And if something as severe as your child assaulting is pushed under the rug,
Yeah.
you can never look at them the same. And can you bring your child back? Like, now that they are on this path where their mentality has been
No, it's
is
I
validated.
understand what you're saying. It's tough to bring the kid back if one parent is validating it.
Exactly.
Because that kid is obviously going to side with the parent that is
Yeah.
validating his behavior.
Yeah.
He's not going to side with
Yeah,
the one
yeah,
that's saying
yeah,
what
yeah.
you're doing is wrong.
That's true.
If he can live with the divorce, then go for it. Because why would you live with someone whose values don't align with you?
But also, does that mean he's alienating the child a lot further?
Maybe, but in this case, again, like, if you go into a custody battle or whatever, obviously the mother's going to end up getting the
Yeah.
kids. So, I mean, it's far gone, It's either your wife understands your situation
Yeah.
or you do what you have to do. I mean, I don't know how he's going to live with it. It's tough.
Yeah, obviously, yeah,
But
yeah. I
if
mean,
he
after being
can-
together for so
Yeah,
long,
17 years at
Yeah,
least, right?
yeah.
If you have a kid that's 16.
exactly. So, I think 18 years being together. So,
Yeah.
and you also think, is this the person that I thought I knew?
Yeah.
That
For 18 years, damn.
it's
That's
a big
messed up.
revelation.
That's messed up.
Okay, so speaking of people like brushing off boundaries, wait till you hear about this next guest. So it reads, entitled guest wants to open my collector doll for her kid. I moved out of my parents' house last year. My parents have kept my childhood bedroom as it is with all of my old toys, belongings, clothes. Because I go home to visit most weekends and help around the house. This includes some collector edition Barbies and dolls that my dad bought for me when I was younger. I keep them in their boxes stored on a high shelf. There's about 10 dolls, some of which are collector's items now because of their age and condition. I haven't thought about selling them because I just like keeping things my dad bought for me. I guess I have an attachment to them because he worked in the US while we lived in Canada without him, and the toys were given when he visited us. This past weekend, I was visiting my mom and she brought some friends over. One particularly entitled friend, Jane, brought her granddaughter, a 5-year-old. I told my mom not to let the child up in my room after a bad experience with kids taking my belongings and breaking them. I stayed downstairs and worked in a room. Eventually, I heard Jane taking the granddaughter upstairs. I then heard them opening doors and talking. I didn't go upstairs until I heard her say something about dolls. I went upstairs and asked them both to leave my room, but Jane was already in my closet at this point and pointing at the dolls. Of course, they pointed at the boxes of Barbies. She pulled one off, showed it to her granddaughter, and told me she wanted to play with it. When I told her, no, it's in the box for a reason, she seemed irritated at me and handed the box back to me. She left the room and the child started crying and saying she wanted to play with the dolls. I went through my things, found some of the dolls that I'd opened as a kid and played with, and offered them to her downstairs. But she kept insisting on the princess doll. They didn't go back upstairs, but it left me a little anxious now about my room. My mom is telling me to put a lock on my door because Jane visits often and tends to wander around, but I'm baffled that she would go into someone's house and think it's okay to touch their stuff. I'm from a South Asian background, by the way, and this tends to be the attitude of some older women. They don't understand collectible culture or sentimentality to gifts. They think they're able to do whatever they want, open whatever they want. Edit for extra info, we installed a lock this morning on my bedroom door, and my mom warned her friend not to go into my room in the future. I live in a very small condo. It isn't big enough for me to bring all of my belongings there. I've left a lot of clothing and personal items with my parents. Wow, that part about the South Asian culture really hit the nail on the head. And
Yeah.
also, like, what villain behavior? This is collectibles, like,
No,
absurd.
forget about the collectibles, but you wouldn't go to someone's house and then just.
Snoop!
Yeah.
Why would you go to somebody else's house and snoop? And for me, like, personally, I mean, even with like you guys, even before y'all like use a washroom or whatever, you always, hey, can I use the washroom? I mean,
Friends, probably not now,
no, yeah,
but like.
but like when you're comfortable around the house, of course. But the first
Yeah.
time you enter somebody's house,
Exactly.
you don't just go open people's doors or cupboards and look at what is in there. That's such an
Exactly.
invasion of people's privacy.
And okay, it's like this. If the kid does it, you'll probably understand. Okay, it was a kid, didn't understand,
Yeah.
and so on. But if
the
the
adult-
adult is insisting on it, that's insane.
Exactly, and honestly, there's such a big difference between being curious and crossing other people's boundaries. I think it's very similar to like opening somebody's wallet or opening a lady's handbag or opening somebody's cupboard. Those are not your things to do, look at, to touch. Just
Exactly. You don't just go into someone's house and start pulling their stuff, especially as an adult. Now, see, now when my friends come over, for
Yeah.
example, because they are my friends,
and also like they've been to your house
multiple times they'll go, they'll open my fridge, clean out the fridge, and so on.
and those are all okay.
That's totally fine. But they are still not going to go into my parents' room, for
Yeah.
example.
Yeah.
My room, no boundaries.
At all.
Their room, no one enters. And that's not because I tell them, hey, don't go in here.
No,
It's just
that's
common
sense.
courtesy.
It's
Yeah.
common courtesy, and there's no guest privilege,
Yeah, exactly.
right? It's not your space. You're being welcomed into somebody else's space, so just be respectful. And like sentimental items, you never know. Like something could be gifted to them by somebody that has passed away. So there could be different stories attached to a thing, and human beings get attached to things. So the fact that you encourage a child at a young age to think that this type of behavior is okay is absurd. It's definitely the fault of an adult for them to think that this type of behavior is okay.
And then that kid is going to look at that behavior, think it's normal, rational, because they're obviously the adult's going to go home
Yeah.
and rationalize their behavior.
Exactly.
And then scold that person for not giving the doll and so on. Kids have definitely come into our house, run around, broken. I mean, me as a kid have run around in other people's house and broken stuff and all that. But whenever I broke someone else's stuff, my parents gave me a bang on the head.
Oh my God.
So that
100%.
I knew what I did was wrong.
Yeah,
Right? And it's been the same with anyone else that's come into our house and done the same
agree.
thing.
And like for me, especially because I mean, I just moved into this house. So I have, because I don't have kids at the moment, I do have white furniture in my house. And some people think it's completely okay to let their kids get on my sofas wearing shoes. And it really bothers me because I spent a lot of money. I mean, I guess I understand that why it's white and all of that, and I should have thought about it better. But parents think that these kids' behavior is okay.
Some parents just don't know how to handle their kids. I mean, you've seen kids at supermarkets and all, they lie on the ground, scream, say they want this, they want that.
I understand that it's part of growing up and it's part of like that experience of being a child.
But parents should, I think now parents are very lax on disciplining their kids.
Yeah.
And that makes kids very entitled to
To
things.
a lot of things at a very young age.
Yeah.
So, like how South Asian aunties treating your house like a museum tour, And one thing I've also noticed is as of late, some of these aunties have no concept of your time, like no heads up. There's no invitation for them to come see the house or like come see you or whatever. But maybe when they're 15 minutes away, they will call you and be like, hey, we're on our way. Are you at home? And like sometimes I might not be comfortable to entertain visitors. I might not want to have people in my house.
That's more of a relative thing, isn't it? I think
It is.
relatives like aunties, distant relatives that randomly want to pop in.
So Enura and I also don't live together. We live. My father-in-law lives with us, so people do come to see him too, which makes sense. But sometimes, like it's a lot. We are not in a space or mindset to entertain people. That really sucks. But we don't really have a choice either. So, do you think you would confront or would you just silently sit?
No, I just say bugger off.
Talk on the head.
It's my house.
That's true. And
if I don't like what is happening in my house, I'd obviously tell the person who came.
I agree. But what would be the one thing that you would hate if somebody like touched in your house? Like your personal belongings?
One thing that even with my friends, one thing that I get irritated by is when they get on my bed. Because I keep my bed as clean as possible, it's arranged and so on and so on. The first thing these buggers do is come and just jump on it. They don't wash their legs, nothing. It's like boom. And I'm like, oh my god. And now to them, I don't say anything because, like I said, it's my friends and I kind of live with it. But that really irritates me.
I get really annoyed when people touch my clothes.
Clothes, of course.
No, I don't mind sharing them.
But I get your point because you're
so I don't like it because my clothes, this is a me problem, I'm very messy, so my clothes are everywhere. Other than my best friend, I don't like it when people move my clothes from spot A to spot B because she's been here enough to know where the spots are that I would move my clothes to. And when I can't find the clothes I need because somebody else has moved it, very irritating. Anyways, we've gotten families divided over accountability and guess who can't keep their hands to themselves. If you guys have any irritating behavior of kids, I'm sure you do, that you have hung out with, it could be your kid, it could be your sister's kid, does not matter, it could be your neighbor's kid too. Let us know. You can also follow us on all our socials. We are on TikTok, we are on Instagram, and of course subscribe to our YouTube channel, and I will catch you at the next one.